Hey everybody. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Most infamous JRPGs? Well, let me explain. Here is a list of 10 games that I chose that have something unique, negative, that made them technically popular because of that. I mean, a lot of people remember these games because of that particular negative point. So that's what I want to talk about today with you. And it's gonna be 10 games, 10 infamous games, not hidden gems or maybe some hidden gems, some other two. Well, the point is that most of these games are pretty well known, but when you think about these games, your mind goes right to that negative point. And that's why I wanted to make this video. These 10 games are famous because they are infamous. Number 10, Lunar Dragon Song, or Genesis in Europe. This was the third spin-off of the classic Lunar 1 and 2 for the PS1. There were other two spin-offs before this one that never came out of Japan, so this was to the rest of the world the third installment in the series, and a long-awaited game that disappointed the heck out of everybody. The reason being due to several gameplay mechanics that literally ruined the experience of the player. The most famous, or rather infamous example is this. Please take a look at the lower screen right now. You may have noticed that the characters are losing HP when they run. Yes, you lose HP when you run. I don't think I have to explain further than this as to why this game sucks. And it's very infamous. Next is Chaos Wars. Unlike the previous game, this one doesn't suck. In fact, it's far from sucking. In my opinion, it's a wonderful and very addicting strategy RPG that works as a crossover for several different JRPG franchises that include characters from Growlancer or Shadow Hearts. However, the fatal flaw that almost killed the game, I say almost because thankfully you could switch this option to Japanese, was the terrible English voice acting it had. I have played quite a lot of JRPGs in my life, and I've listened to bad voice acting here and there, but this one takes the cake. In my opinion, it's the worst English voice acting in a video game.
Don't buy anything yet. We have a shopping list. We need to hurry. Everyone is waiting for us. Ah! Screaming! It came from the bag alley.
Sounds like a girl. I'll go check it out.
Oh god, just kill me. Shadow Hearts 3 from the New World is on number 8. So speaking of Shadow Hearts with good voice acting actually, here we have the last one to be made for the series. This game is good, nothing really wrong with it. It has decent graphics, nice gameplay, an average story. What else? Your typical fan service. But the problem that made this game infamous was the storyline. You see, the first two games were deeply connected with a very dark, gothic and deep plot that turned them into a pretty popular pair of games. Here, they changed that to something entirely different and continued on with the plot as if nothing ever happened in the previous games. It is still connected to them, taking place in New York in 1929. Wow! Well, that was a huge jump between one plot and the other. So this game was panned by critics mainly because of that. It's not a bad game at all, mind you, but I think this should be considered a spin-off more than a canon title. Dragon's Crown stays on number 7. This is an excellent action JRPG that combines elements of magic and sword through a classic quest system. The reason this game is on the list is because it is one of the most overly sexualized JRPGs ever. The boiling point, however, as to why it's so infamous is because they crossed the line on this. Most of the female characters in this game either look way too sexualized or pretty much deformed. The main criticism went to the Amazon warrior who looked naturally atrocious instead of the hot and sexy muscular woman they were trying to go for. Vanillaware, the company who developed this game, and also Odin Sphere and Green Grimoire, is pretty well known for making beautiful art but with some arrangement of sexual innuendos. In Dragon's Crown, however, they stepped way too far from an acceptable sex appeal. Nevertheless, it's a great game. Next is Grandia 2 for the PS2. For those who are frowning at this very moment, unable to understand why this game's on the list, I invite you to take a closer look at the video I'm showing right now. If you can detect the little lag every now and then, congratulations! You've realized why the PS2 version of Grandia 2 is infamous. For those who don't, well, it's totally understandable, since the game lags on most of the time and there are some glitches here and there, but nothing truly noticeable that can destroy the gaming experience. Grandia 2 originally came out for the Dreamcast and was later ported to the PS2. This port is pretty infamous for being glitchy and laggy, but I've always thought it was just an exaggeration. Either version is fine, and you'll have tons of fun playing it. But the fact remains that the PS2 version is known because of these flaws, as you can see right now. Next on the list is Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, a turn-based dark RPG with a very good story, graphics and music. It is one of the best Shin Megami Tensei titles for the PS2. This one's got a lot of fame only because of one single reason: a boss battle. Yes, this boss battle is legendary. Pretty much everyone who's familiar with this game knows it because of it. Matador. What an asshole. There's one way to beat this guy, and it's using tons of buffs, but even that doesn't guarantee your victory. It's one of the most annoying and frustrating boss battles in the history of gaming. To make matters worse, it's not an optional battle, nope. If you can't beat this guy, then it's over. You're probably gonna rage quit and ditch the game, because it's too damn upsetting. Well, other than that, it's an awesome RPG, but infamous due to that skeleton moron. Next we have Fire Emblem Fates for the Nintendo 3DS. Recently I made a top 10 best Fire Emblem games and I explained why I didn't put this game on that list. This extremely popular strategy RPG is infamous because, according to fans of the series, it is considered the worst Fire Emblem ever. Not for its gameplay, not for its graphics, nope. It's because of the story. Allegedly, it's terrible. I've beat the two physical versions of this game, Conquest and Birthright, and I found the game to be pretty decent. To be honest, it didn't disappoint me in the slightest in terms of gameplay. But as for the story, well, I don't think it's terrible. I just think it's a little dumb, full of fan service and cliches, but not enough to hate it. A huge majority of the Fire Emblem fans think otherwise, and that's why this game has become very unfamous. Quest 64 is number 3. I think you already know why this game's on the list. It is considered to be one of the worst, if not the worst JRPG of all time by a lot, and I mean a lot of people. But let's be honest here for a moment. Is it that bad? Well, yes, it's bad, yes, it sucks, but is this truly the very worst JRPG ever? I'm not sure, because terms like the worst or the best, in my opinion, are always subjective. Therefore, everyone has their own mindset towards this game, and I'm pretty sure there must be at least someone out there who enjoyed it. I didn't, to be straight with you. Well, I didn't hate it, but I just found it really boring, unappealing, and, well, bad. Just bad. In any case, there you have it. Quest 64 had to be on this list simply because it's famous for being allegedly the worst JRPG of all time. Number 2 Dark Souls. Dark Souls is an action JRPG extremely popular and pretty well known to almost any gamer out there. Why is it on the list? You know the reason, right? This game is very, very famous for being very, very hard. Simple as that. Its difficulty is legendary. I mean, so legendary that tons of memes have already spawned pretty much everywhere. It is considered by many as the hardest JRPG of all time. I'm sorry to say this, but I think most people who say that haven't played too many RPGs in their lives. Yes, the game's hard, but I don't know, it's not half as hard as, I don't know, games such as this, for example, which are great games that I found to be very frustrating, way harder than Dark Souls. Yeah. Nevertheless, the game stays in the second place because it's still notoriously infamous for being supposedly very hard. Number 1, Final Fantasy XIII. Oh man, I never wanted to talk about this game in my videos, but sooner or later I was gonna have to, right? It stays on the first place for one obvious reason. It is, according to most fans of the Final Fantasy series, the game that ruined the franchise. Yeah. Forget about the movie, forget about this terrible sequel. Final Fantasy XIII is, according to many, the worst Final Fantasy ever made. Nothing wrong with the graphics, of course, maybe not the gameplay either, but the story...
So what are you afraid of, huh? You're supposed to be the hero.
Just say it! Any Lassie, anyone who might even become one, they all ought to be wiped off Cocoon.
The only way...
It's terrible. No surprise, since it was not written by the legendary series creator Hironobu Sakaguchi, but rather by someone who I'm just not going to mention. I don't think the battle system is awful, as many people also criticized, but I just think it's one of the most stupidest, cliché, ridiculous and annoying stories I have ever seen in my gaming life. And that's why this game stays as the most infamous RPG of all time. Okay guys, that's it. Thank you for watching. And I'm gonna make a part 2 of this video someday, but I need your help. I need to ask you for a favor, because when I was making this list today, I made my research and all that stuff, but I only gathered like 16, 15 JRPGs, most infamous JRPGs. So I'm gonna need your help. If you know of a JRPG that is infamous for a particular reason or for something, whatever, let me know in the comment section below and I will take it into account. So if you could help me build my next video, well, the part 2 of this video that I'll make someday, I will make an honorable mention of you at the end of the video. Yeah, I promise. So as usual, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. See you next time.